अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अनेकजन्मसम्प्राप्त कर्मबन्धविदाहिने आत्मज्ञानप्रदानेन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याज्ञां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धा स्वान्तस्थमीश्वरम्। प्रत्यगात्मा ब्रह्मरूपम् प्रत्यगात्मा ब्रह्मरूपम् देहभिन्न आत्मरूपम् देहभिन्न आत्मरूपम् नित्यसिद्ध सत्यरूपम् नित्यसिद्ध सत्यरूपम् प्रत्यगात्मा ब्रह्मरूपम् देहभिन्न आत्मरूपम् नित्यसिद्ध सत्यरूपम् नित्यज्ञान चित्स्वरूपम् नित्यज्ञान चित्स्वरूपम् सर्वानन्द सुखस्वरूपम् सर्वानन्द सुखस्वरूपम् प्रत्यगात्मा ब्रह्मरूपम् प्रत्यगात्मा ब्रह्मरूपम् परमप्रेम आनन्दरूपम् परमप्रेम आनन्दरूपम् अप्रमेयं परमाद्वैतम् सर्वानंद सुख स्वरूपम देह भिन्न आत्मरूपम प्रत्यगात्म ब्रह्मरूपम परम प्रेम आनंदरूपम परम प्रेम आनंदरूपम आनंदरूपम ब्रह्मरूपम 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 सर्वविद्या स्वरूपाय लक्ष्मी संश्लिष्ट वक्षसे मधुपासन लक्ष्याय हयग्रीवाय मंगलम् शंखचक्र महामुद्रा पुस्तकाभ्यं चतुर्भुजम् संपूर्ण चंद्र संकाशम् हयग्रीवमुपास्महे हयग्रीवमुपास्महे ज्ञानानन्दमयं रामम् निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं तत्त्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवायितं नुमः हयग्रीवायितं नुमः शंकराचार्य नवावतारम् विश्वेश्वरं विश्वगुरुं प्रणम्य वेदान्तशास्त्र श्रवणालसानां बोधाय कुर्वे किमपि प्रबन्धं बोधाय कुर्वे किमपि प्रबन्धं श्रीमद्हयग्रीव पदारविन्द कारुण्यमानन्द रसप्रसंगा मंदाशयोद्धारण बद्धबुद्धिः सिद्धान्तबिन्दुं विपुलीकरोमि सिद्धान्तबिन्दुं विपुलीकरोमि In reality, everything occurs on its own without any exterior cause. When we look at the occurrences from the standpoint of reality, not from the standpoint of individuality or in other words ego, but from the standpoint of reality, we will come to understand that everything occurs on its own with no exterior cause. Everything and every event is a manifestation of the totality of all that is. whatever is, which is all that is, which is the totality of all that is behind all the events, all the occurrences, and all the happenings. So that is why it is said, everything, every event is a manifestation of the totality of all that is. All that is, totality of all that is. That takes care of it. That is responsible for it. It is the will of it. It is the plan of it. It is the sankalpa of it. Therefore, it is the manifestation of it. In every given moment, whatever happens, whatever occurs, whatever may be the event, it is the manifestation of the totality of all that is. All that is knows whatever is happening, wherever it may be happening, and it is behind that happening. The totality knows. So, once seen in its totality, everything is perfect at all times. Because from the totality, everything is perfect at all times. There is no need for any external cause to change it in any way. When we think that something is imperfect, we want some external cause to change it. And it is said, from the viewpoint of the ego's limited scope and mentally programmed structures, ego's limited scope and mentally programmed structures, everything in the world, it looks as if everything in the world needs fixing and correcting. From the viewpoint of the ego, limited scope and the mentally programmed structures, everything needs fixing, everything needs correction. So everything needs some cause to change it. The way in which it is, we have to change it. From that standpoint, when we look around, we will come with a response that everything is like, nothing is okay, everything is there, everything, whatever is happening all around, look at the newspaper, look at the news, what is all this happening, everything needs improvement, everyone needs something or other to be changed or improved. That is why even the Lokpal bill presented also, it needs to be changed. According to my convenience, it has to be changed. According to my safety, it has to be changed. I will see to it that I am not caught in it. Similarly, I will frame that bill. And the easiest way is to attribute few charges on somebody who is trying to fight for a great cause and then go on blame because media is there and because so many things are there. So you can with power, you can go on blaming anybody. But if there are people who knows what is true, so you go on repeating something again and again, people think it is real. That is all it is. That is all it is. If everything is open, if everything is clean, what is the point? You can make the strictest possible bill. So what? You are clear. So what is the problem? No, if that is made, what will happen to all the great members? How can they survive? Very difficult. So make the bill only difficult to survive. So the best way for the great man who is trying behind is absolute standpoint. Absolute standpoint is the best thing. What is that? Nothing needs fixing. Nothing needs to be corrected. Everything is as it is perfect. From which standpoint? Absolute standpoint. From the absolute standpoint, what is there? Only absolute is there. Whatever is appearing, it is all only appearing. It is appearing. It is an appearance, it is not a reality. What is not a reality? If it is appearing, what does it matter? Because we know what is truth. What does it matter? You know, when you tell this philosophy, the same people who are objecting to bill will say, this is all not good philosophy for living and all. If you bring absolute value system, they will not agree. So here what we want generally people around is, everything should suit to their convenience. That is all it is. They should be convenient. Forget about system, forget about rule, forget about supervision, forget about value, forget about dharma, forget about everything. Majority of the people, like somebody said, more than 80% of the people are utterly selfish and they don't follow any value system. That is very clear. So naturally, majority is selfish and they don't want value system. What will you get there? How can you get there? Very difficult. So, whatever it is, forget about all that. Here they can manipulate. What they can manipulate? The karmas, karma phala. The niyanta is there taking care of everything. Everything has to be experienced. Nothing can escape his eye and his wisdom, his supervision, his observation. So, absolute standpoint, from that standpoint, when you look at it, nothing needs to be changed, nothing needs to be corrected, nothing needs to be fixed. Everything is perfect as it is. So let things happen as they happen, because everything is taken care of by the totality of all the things. A very beautiful understanding from higher standpoint. Because when a person is reveling in the totality, and from that standpoint you understand, and a single sankalpa from that person itself is a blessing to all. It is much more than somebody who is running around in the society and trying to do or trying to bring about a change. Because the very dynamics of the vibration with which the sankalpa is released, that is enough to change people, bring about the necessary change. So now, the radiance of the God is the light of awareness. What is the light of awareness? It is the radiance of God Himself. The radiance of God Himself is the light of awareness. And that reveals the divinity of all that exists. The light of God, which is the awareness, reveals the divinity of all that exists. For ego of all that exists, only undivine is revealed. For the divinity, whatever is existing, because of that awareness is connected to the divinity, it reveals the divinity of all that is existing. Once the divinity is revealed of all that is existing, who will bother about outer layers, outer covers? Nobody need to bother, because they are anyway not real. They are anyway not worthy. So, when you look at that which is the core, which is the essence, which is the reality, and that revelation is there, until that revelation is there, then we will also be caught in the outer layers and then say, this is not correct, that is not correct, this is not okay, that is not okay, I am not at peace, I am in disturbance because I am thinking, it goes on. That doesn't mean that we should not take care of the law, we should not take care of the legislation, all that is fine. But how long? There has to be some other viewpoint where everything is perfect. We can't bring about perfection in the outer layers. The inside is always perfect. If you can focus on it, by that focus, if we progress in the path of evolution, our presence may bring about a change in others' lives without effort. Without any attempt on our part to bring about a change, the change can come. So, when the divinity of all is revealed by the awareness, there is stillness. Because everywhere everything is divine, what else you can do now? You are still. The mind is silent, it is quiet, and there is no movement. In that stillness of the infinite presence, the mind is silent, as there is nothing that can be said, and there is nothing that can be done. Nothing can be said, nothing can be done. Whatever is there, all speaks of itself with completeness and exactitude. When everything is complete and everything is speaking of itself with completeness and exactitude, the one who is observing this, experiencing this, transcends the duality. To transcend the duality, what do we need? The divinity of all has to be revealed. And who will reveal? Who will reveal? The awareness. What is the awareness? The radiance of the God. So the light of awareness is the radiance of the God. God alone has to reveal. That is why God's own vritti has to be kept in the mind, for the ignorance to be removed, so that the revelation happens. So, once we start allowing the divinity to reveal itself, we are pulled into greater awareness by the will of God. Will of God pulls us into the greater awareness, not into the smaller awareness, but to the greater awareness. And all that is necessary to happen should be allowed to happen. It should be allowed to happen, that's all. Whatever is supposed to happen, it should be allowed to happen. That is why it is said, surrendering to God and allowing things to happen as per the will of God is really the best way. Because God alone knows what godliness is. So we have to uplift ourselves to that level. Now coming back to the subject. Thus, all the three, this is Siddhanta Bindu point 176, all the three, Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna, along with the three states, Jagratavastha, Swapnavastha and Sushuptavastha, waking, dream and these two states, are all due to nescience, meaning ignorance. And so, being the objects of knowledge, they are all the objects of knowledge, Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, so they are unreal. So now what is the conclusion after seeing the 8th sloka for such a nice elaborative way, in an elaborated manner? Now the conclusion is that Kevalaha Sakshi Turiyakyaha Aham Asmi Iti Arthaha. Now the conclusion is I am the unconditioned pure witness known as the Turiya, known as the fourth. So what are we? After the 8th sloka, the conclusion is I am the unconditioned pure witness. I am the witness which is pure and unconditioned, which is known as the fourth or the Turiya. Thus, even though empirically all the distinctions are accountable, Vishwadhyaya, Prajna, Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, worldly, transactional, empirically all are okay, acceptable, accountable. In reality, there are no such distinctions. In the absolute reality, no such distinctions are accountable. So in reality, there are no such distinctions at all. And so there is no inconsistency in saying that witness alone is real, rest all are unreal or mithya. Then afterwards, Siddhanta Bindu point number 177, there is an objection from the Purva Pakshi. So, anticipating the doubt that since the three states of waking, dream and deep sleep are the entities and identified with them Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna are unreal, three states, the entities identified with them are unreal. Now the doubt is their witness also may be unreal, because all the three are unreal and their identity, the entities that identify with them are unreal. So the witnesses would also be unreal, because there is no distinction between what is identified and what is witnessing and all. So the reality of the witness, now because of the doubt that is expressed, the reality of the witness is declared by bringing about the distinction. That is there in the 9th sloka. Apivyapakatva Hitatva Prayoga Svatasiddha Bhava Ananyashrayatva Jagattuchchametat Samastam Tadanyat Tadeko Vasishtha Shivakevaloham Apivyapakatva Hitatva Prayoga Svatasiddha Bhava Ananyashrayatva Jagattuchchametat Samastam Tadanyat Tadeko Vasishtha Shivakevaloham Tadeko Vasishtha Shivakevaloham Apivyapakatva Hitatva Prayoga Svatasiddha Bhava Ananyashrayatva. The witness, Apivyapakatva, is all pervading. The witness is all pervading. It is not confined to one state or one particular thing or in a local place or particular time or particular object. The witness is all pervading. Hitatva Prayoga is the desired goal. It is the desired goal. It is the Purushartha. Hitatva Prayoga. Swatasiddha Bhava. And he is not dependent upon anything else. Witness is Swatasiddha Bhava, not dependent upon anything else. Ananyashrayatva, while it is self-existent. Swatah Siddha Bhava, it is self-existent. Ananyashrayatva, it is not dependent upon anything else. And Jagat Tukshamekat Samastam Tadanyam. While the entire universe, which is different from it, is unreal. Entire universe is different from the witness. And because it is different from the witness, it is unreal. So, I remain as the one auspicious self, free from all attributes. Tadevo Vasishtha Shivakevaloham. Now, Madhusudana Saraswati deals with it elaborately. Siddhanta Bindu number 178. Api iti. Api. The sloka started with Apivya Bhakatva Nitatva Prayoga. Api. Api iti. Please repeat. Api iti. Api iti. Na drishte. Na drishte. Drashtaram pashye. Drashtaram pashye. About the witness, it is said, you cannot see the seer of sight. From the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, if there is any idea in anybody's mind that can I see the witness, the Shruti says you cannot see the seer of the sight. That itself is the seer of all. There is no other seer which sees it. If there is anybody seer which sees it, that also becomes seen and that also becomes unreal. That alone is the seer. Everything else is the seen. So it is said that is the seer of the sight. You cannot see the seer of the sight. Iti sakshinam prakritya ato anyadartam. From the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the Shruti says everything else is perishable. All are perishable except witness. Witness alone is imperishable. Rest all are perishable. So what is perishable cannot be the witness, and the witness is never perishable. Iti Shrutehe Sakshinaha Anyat Sakshyam Sarvam Jagat Tucham Natu Sakshi. So the entire universe, which is different from the witness, Anyat Saksham Sarvam Jagat Tucham Natu Sakshi, and is the witness. The entire universe which is different from the witness, and what is called as witnessed is unreal and not the witness. Witness is real. What is witnessed, what is different from the witness, which is called as Jagat, which is called as witnessed, is unreal. Witness is real. Badhaditvat Brahmadishtarataya Jnatvatvacha Tadvadhagrahaka Abhavacha Ityadyanuttam Samuchayarthaha Api Shabdaha. Because it is beyond the possibility of sublation or negation or refutation. So because it is beyond the possibility of sublation, he is known in a general way as the substratum of the illusion. It is the substratum of the illusion. The witness is the substratum of the illusion. As there is no one who can testify its sublation. Nobody can testify that the witness can be sublated. Nobody can testify its sublation. The word api should be taken to denote all other characteristics of witness which are not even mentioned here. So api denotes witness only. One word has all this explanation. Api means witness. So that witness alone is real, that alone is substratum, and no one can sublate it or testify its sublation. Everything can be sublated by the witness. So witness is substratum and is known in the general way. The witness itself can never be negated, because that will need another witness to negate it. Then that witness will limit this witness. And as there is no witness to its negation, this witness alone is the ultimate. So witness is beyond negation, beyond sublation. Next. Atha yadalpam tanmatyam iti shrutehe. From the Chandogya Upanishad. In view of the Shruti statement, what is limited is mortal. Yad alpam tat martyam. Yad alpam tat martyam. Whatever is limited, that is mortal. If anything is limited, that is mortal. What is immortal? That which is unlimited. Indirectly we understand it. Parichinnatva tuchhatvayoho samavyaptatva. The limitedness, which is parichinnatvam, and unreality, which is tuchhatvam, are coextensive. Parichinnatvam and tuchhatvam are coextensive. Parichinnatva nivritya tuchha nivrittihi iti aha. And so when the limitedness is denied, unreality also is denied. Whatever is limited is unreal. Whatever is limited is mortal. So whatever is denied as limited, naturally mortality also is limited. Unreality also is defined. So whatever is immortal, that is real. Vyapakatvat iti sarvam khalvidam brahma iti sarvatma iti sarvatmatva upadeshena deshakala So it has been said, since Atma is all pervading, Sarvam Kalitam Brahma, since Atma is all pervading, by the statement that all this is indeed Brahman. Vyapakatvat iti, Atma is all pervading, by the statement that Sarvam Kalitam Brahma, since all this is Brahman, which says that it is everything unlimited in space and time. Unlimitedness in space and time is brought out by saying about its all pervasiveness and by also saying that all this is indeed Brahman. All this is indeed Brahman. Like we also say when somebody comes and we want to show our estate or property, all this is mine. That means what? My glory pervades to the extent of the property. But I can't say all the world is mine. We can't even say all the country is mine. Even though we say that we are identified with patriotic feeling, but actually, so that is why it is said all this is indeed Brahman. So that means what? Everything is Brahman. So unlimitedness in space and time is brought out. Akashadinam cha deshakala parichinnatve api आपेक्षिक महत्वात् तेन व्यापकत्वात् उपचारात् space though limited and air also when we see it also looks limited, though limited in space and time, are said to be pervasive in a secondary sense because of their comparative weakness. Space and air, even though they are actually limited, they are said as all pervasive because of their comparative weakness. Just because they are compared with the Atma, we can't say Atma is like space. For comparison they will say, but in reality Atma and space are not one because space has limitation. Yesterday only we saw. Space also merges into consciousness at the time of Pralaya, and time also is not space, so both are limited. So time and space are limited. And Atma is compared with the space, and sometimes God is compared with the time also, Mahakala, Rupam and all that. But even then time is also limited, space also is limited. So that is why this weakness is unlimited. That is very clear. Now an objection again by the Purva Paksha. Since Atma is all pervading and therefore eternal and also is positive in nature, it cannot be of the nature of removal of sorrow. How can Atma remove sorrow? That is the doubt. Because removal of sorrow has a beginning and an end and is of the nature of negation. So, if something is removing the sorrow, here the objection is that also might be having a beginning and end. Nor it can be said of the nature of happiness, which also has a beginning and an end. If it is said as the remover of sorrow, sorrow has beginning and end, so the remover also has beginning and end. If it is said that the nature of happiness, happiness also has beginning and end, so it will also have beginning and end. So how can you say that witness is beyond beginning and beyond end? So then, the Madhusudan Saraswati's commentary here. Na iti aha hitatva prayoga iti hitatvam purusharthatvam. It is denied their objection. No, because it is referred to as supremely beneficial, which is sought after by human beings. That is sought after by human beings and it is supremely beneficial. Tadetat preyah putra preyo vitta preyo anyasmat sarvasmat antarataram yat ayam atma. From the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the Shruti statement such as the self is dearer than a son, dearer than the wealth, dearer than everything else, and it is the innermost. The self is dearer than everything. Already we saw this in first and second shlokas, comparatively we saw, so we are not elaborating on it. So, we are ready to sacrifice everything for our sake. If our survival becomes most imminent and important, rest all we can forgo, but not ourselves. And what is the most dearest? It is ourselves. So, that is what is sought after by everybody. What is the most dearest is sought after by everybody. Everybody wants that. So, it is said, what is that which is sought after by everybody? How is it? Yo vai bhuma tat sukham. From the Chandogya Upanishad. That which is infinite is alone happiness. Because everybody is seeking oneself, means that oneself is happiness. So, that which is everybody is seeking that is everywhere, that is infinite in everybody. So, that which is infinite is alone happiness. What is happiness? That which is infinite. So, objection is what? If it is told to be the nature of happiness, then it must also have beginning and end. No, not worldly happiness. It is ultimate happiness, infinite happiness. So, infinite alone is happiness. That is why it is denied that it has got a beginning and an end. It is beyond the beginning, beyond an end. It is infinite, is alone happiness. Esha eva paramananda. From the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. This itself is supreme bliss. This itself is supreme bliss. What is infinite is happiness. And that itself is supreme bliss. The supreme bliss, how can it be bound by time and space and anything? Vijnanam Brahma. From the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Brahman is consciousness and bliss. Declare, see all these Shruti statements. What is it? Brahman is consciousness and bliss. This itself is highest bliss. And this infinite alone is happiness. All these statements declare that self or Atma, which also is the witness, is of the nature of supreme bliss. Yesterday towards the end, in the last 10 minutes, we saw what is Sat, what is Chit, what is Ananda, Sat is Chit, Chit is Ananda, all that we have seen, covered everything we have done again. So then, bliss is the very nature of the self. And that is experienced through, normally, Brahmakara Vritti is there, and then we gain that state where we experience that, and finally in that ultimate state there is no experiencer, there is no experiencer, there is no experiencing, because knowledge itself is Anubhavam, Anubhavam itself is Satyam, Satyam itself is Anandam, Anandam itself is Chit Prakasham. So all that is by itself it is there. Infinite happiness is the nature. So it is said normally the joys that are experienced through senses and the mind are only a reflection of that bliss. God bliss, the supreme bliss. Whatever joys we experience in the world through our sensory organs and sense objects, it is only because of the vrittis that are there in the mind we experience. And that is nothing but a reflection of that in these vrittis. So, whatever we are chasing in the world, it is only a reflection of that ultimate happiness. Now it is said thereafter, but though it is eternal, it is spoken of in the world in a secondary sense. What is that supreme bliss or happiness, supreme happiness, though it is eternal? In the world it is spoken of in a secondary sense as arising and ending. It is spoken of as arising and ending when it is manifested by an appropriate vritti of the mind brought about by one's religious merit. So, when the happiness is brought about by a vritti of the mind, what is behind that because of the punya, what we have accumulated, then the external surroundings and situations will be conducive so that the object is available and the mind becomes one with the object in the form of vritti, and then it comes inside, and that is how we experience the joy, knowledge and joy. So, that because in that manner we experience it is said to be as beginning and ending, because whatever joy experience through the vritti of the world, vritti of the mind, the world is joy, it is beginning and ending. But that also is because of punya. The enjoyment of happiness, here Madhusudan Saraswati wants to emphasize this point. Whatever we enjoy, the enjoyment of happiness is only the result of accumulated punya. Whatever punya we accumulate by doing good acts and good deeds, that will result in enjoyment of happiness. Once that is exhausted, trouble begins. That is all it is. So, this happiness is nothing but a reflection of the bliss of the self in the mind. The bliss, which is of the nature of consciousness, that reflects in the mind, that alone we are experiencing. For that we accumulate punya, and make conducive atmosphere to experience the objects, acquire them, possess them, own them, experience them, and then finally enjoy that happiness. That is nothing but a reflection of that bliss. When the original is available, why chase the bliss and struggle and sweat and toil and experience and say, great, but that is a reflection of that. That is what is being said here. So the self is concealed by nescience, and so it appears as if it has not been attained. Why we think that we have not attained Atma? Because the ignorance is covering it. When that ignorance is removed by the mere knowledge of the self, it appears as if it is attained. Whatever is not attained will appear as if it is attained. So the effort of the seeker to attain the Atma is valid, is understandable. So Purushartha is there. The Purushartha, Parama Purushartha is moksha. That moksha Purushartha gives happiness. So that is understandable. So because we are speaking in the terms of attained, once the ignorance is removed, so Purushartha is valid. Adhyastasya prapanchasya prapanchasya dukkha swarupasya adhishtanatva sa eva abhavah iti dukkha abhava rupatvena api tasya purusharthata. Since the Atma or the self is the substratum of the superimposed world, the whole superimposed world is superimposed on the substratum, which is the Atma, which is of the nature. The superimposed world is of the nature of misery. The substratum is of the nature of happiness. But the superimposed world is of the nature of the misery. So, the self itself is the negation of the world. Once we know the substratum, the superimposed thing is negated. Superimposed is of the nature of the misery. So once we know the self, the misery is negated. Once we know the nature of happiness, the misery is negated. Once we know the substratum, the misery is negated. So the self by itself is the negation of misery. Logically, self by itself is the negation of misery. In this way also, Purushartha is the human goal. What is the human goal? Negation of misery. We want to remove the misery. Dukkha nivritti sukha prapti. That is the Purushartha. So, dukkha nivritti is happening now by knowing the substratum. Samasta samsara dukkha nivritti, not temporary dukkha nivritti. Ordinary Purushartha is temporary dukkha nivritti. Parama Purushartha, dukkha will never be available again. If you want also, dukkha will not be available. For the want of dukkha, one can become dukkhi. Even then also one can become dukkhi. Arey dukkha milta hi nahi. नहीं तो क्या मिलेगा? Only आनंद स्वरूप. So that is why Purushartha is accepted. So Madhusudana Saraswati further says, happiness is the result of calming the mind. Now he wants to go straight into it. Happiness is the result of calming the mind. So calming the mind is very important if you want to experience happiness. So for the time being, even if we calm the mind, the happiness will be there. But what happens? That is wrongly attributed to the attainment of desired objects. When there is a desire for the object, because of that agitation, because of that so much of craving for it, the mind is agitated. And then when the desired object is attained, for that moment, the desire is halted, agitation is halted, stopped. There is experience of happiness, which is nothing but the reflection of the bliss of the self that is being experienced. So that is what is actually is there. But that temporary period, again agitation starts, that happiness goes away. So that happiness has got a beginning and end. But that happiness is a reflection of the original happiness, which has got no beginning, no end. It is always there, eternal and permanent. So the bliss, which is the very nature of the self, is eternal. Since Brahman is eternal, since Atma is eternal, the bliss also is eternal. Just as the knowledge of the rope is itself the negation of the snake, the knowledge of the substratum is itself the negation of the world. And the fear of the snake also is negated, the misery because of the snake also is negated. Similarly, the knowledge of the substratum removes the misery also, removes the suffering also, removes the pain also, removes everything is negated. So the knowledge of the self is the most important thing. Shekhar was asking his friend Vasu, was your marriage one of those trial and error things? Was your marriage one of those trial and error things? And this man said, no. Error came first and then trial. Trial came next. It was an error. Then afterwards I am trying. The trial started. Whatever it is. So, because of the error, which is the ignorance, we got involved with the superimposition and various other things, then the trial started. That is also correct only. First error, then trial. So, one girl said to her boyfriend, here is your ring, take it back. I am giving your ring back to you. Why? He asked, because I love another man. And this boy asked, give his name and address. Why? You want to go and beat him up? He said, no. I will go and sell this ring to him. So that he can gift it to you. Relationships are changing, ring is not changing. Like objects are changing, but suffering continues. That is why that suffering effect has to go. What we have to understand, that has to be negated. How it can be negated? By the knowledge of this happiness, which is not different from the self, which is the substratum, which is the witness here. So when we look at the witness, automatically we get the happiness. And once it so happened that the husband was talking to the wife and said, since we are now married, now I would like to point out some of your mistakes. Some of your mistakes I would like to point out, and whatever is there, you can correct. I would like to show some of your defects and mistakes. And the wife said, don't worry my dear, I know all of them. Because I have them, I could not find a better man. Ulta usko hi. Because I have them, I could not find a better man. If I was perfect, why would I say you get married to you? Actually, it is easier to see defects in others, which is natural for the mind. But that is why the Shastra says you have to see the defect of the mind itself. Okay, mind itself is defective because it is a product of avidya. Avidya itself is unreal, it is indeterminable, it is vidya. So that is why what one has to do is one has to become aware of the knowledge of the substratum, because the rest all is not real. That is what is being told here. The witness alone is real, which is of the nature of the happiness. So once one patient went to a doctor and said, Doctor, I think there are two of me. So what can you do? I think there are two of me. I am not one, but I am two. And then the doctor said, both of you sit down. Both of you sit down and one of you tell what is the problem. What else he can do now? He has to tell like that also. So we are also like that. We are actually one without a second. But we are two of us. And we are many of us. Like that to the world. So then what will the Vedantic doctor do? Sit down. Two of you sit down, many of you sit down. And then tell one of you tell what is the problem and he will start advising. That is the only way we can do. Or what else? So that is why Madhusudana Saraswati also is trying to tell that witness alone is real. Everything else other than that witness is unreal. So witness alone is happiness. And then there is another objection. Very interesting objection. Is happiness experienced in liberation or it is not? Question by the Guru Paksha. It cannot be the first alternative. It cannot be experienced in liberation because there being no body, there being no senses, there is no manifesting means of manifesting happiness. So no happiness in liberation. It looks logical. Because from the worldly standpoint, we need body, senses, and mind so that we can experience. No body is not there, senses are not there, liberation, whatever, no happiness. Then it is said that even without the means of manifestation, if it is said that even without means of manifestation happiness can be experienced, then it would follow that even in transmigratory state, it could be experienced. So, the second alternative is also not tenable because that means there is nothing to be sought after. What is capable of being known, experienced, can be a thing sought after. That is why that follows that dualists say, dualistic philosophy is only by eating sugar one can enjoy its sweetness. Now the dualistic philosophy, this also is a valid philosophy. Many people claim this to be real and very convincingly they talk. To a certain extent it is fine. To a greater extent. Because to divert us from the worldly happiness, it is better that there is another greater happiness is there than to enjoy that happiness. That is very good. It takes us to very greater level. But it is complementary to non-dualistic happiness. After that, one has to go beyond it. So the dualists say that the bliss of Brahman can be enjoyed only if one remains different from Brahman. Many people talk like that. Bliss of Brahman can be enjoyed only if one is different from Brahman. If one becomes Brahman itself, as Advaita says, one cannot enjoy the bliss of Brahman. How can you enjoy the bliss if you become the same? So, just as one cannot enjoy the sweetness of sugar by becoming sugar itself. So, there is no point you are talking bliss is nature and Atma is bliss and all that. That is the point. Even if it is so, there is no point. You remain separate from Atma, then only you can experience. Then only you can do. Long ago, maybe 25 or 30 years ago, few of us used to go to attend spiritual discourses of various masters. So Gurudev was always there. When we attended one of the master, that Amma, in that discourse, after a few minutes of satsang, started crying. First time I was seeing that. Started crying. And then that was okay. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, he went on crying. Afterwards, the volunteers came and then said, please cry. Why? Because that Amma is experiencing that Ananda Bhava, Rasananda Bhava of seeing God in herself, so she is crying. Now maybe in that Bhava people can cry. When the volunteers came and said, you cry, how can you cry? How can you cry? Like that. So, it was very difficult to cry. So then what happened? Then they said, if you can't cry, then you are a papi. No, this is too much. If you can't cry, you are a papi. You see, Bhagavan is not getting tears. Maybe in the highest state of devotion, that also is a stage in evolution. When you see God, suddenly you are in tears. Fine, that also is a. But that is not ultimate. Please remember that. That is not ultimate. You know, when we get into the state of love and total love for unconditional love for God, fine, that is a level. Beyond that is non-duality. and beyond that is absolute Parabrahma consciousness, of course. So then I could not understand it. Even though we attended 2-3 days and the main, this was the only thing you have to cry. But that Amma was crying like anything. And afterward they said, you come for private session, what? Only crying. That is correct only, because there are many people who cry for the world objects that I didn't get it. And when somebody criticizes, they cry. Somebody points out a mistake, they cry. Somebody doesn't praise, they cry. Somebody doesn't give power, they cry. Somebody robs the power, they cry. Somebody brings the ego, they cry. Somebody doesn't pump the ego, they cry. How many people are crying? Crying is natural only. So this crying was very good crying. At least for God's sake, they are crying, not because of anything, only God. Then we asked Gurudev after a couple of months that is crying necessary? And Gurudev said, is it not enough? Is it not enough? In the world there is enough. Why you come to satsanga also and cry? When Atma is Ananda Swarupa, why you have to cry? Why Dukkha Rupa? Dukkha already is there. Where is the need? As if it is not enough. So only the people who want to remain separate from that highest nature of happiness, they will say that yes, the happiness is other than should remain other than you, then only you start enjoying it. That also is a higher level. You are not denying it. It is definitely very higher than the ordinary thing, but it is not ordinary. There is much more beyond it. So that is why Vasudha Saraswati, after showing the objection, now is giving the answer. And he says in Siddhanta Bindu, point number 184, the Atma is self-existent. Swataha Siddha Bhavakiti. Swataha Siddha Bhavakiti. Swataha Siddha Bhavakiti. It is of the nature of existence, self-existent. And then Swaprakasha Jnana Rupatva Atma. It is of the nature of self-effulgence, Swaprakasha, and consciousness, Jnana Rupatva. Self-existent, self-effulgent, and consciousness. Self-effulgent and consciousness. Because it is self-effulgent, it is consciousness, it knows its nature as Ananda. Ananda is itself its nature. Anubhava, Sattva, Chitta, Sattva, it is existent. Chitta, it is consciousness. Ananda, it is of the nature of Ananda. It knows itself as infinite Ananda. That knowing itself is Ananda. There is no experiencer experiencing Ananda. It is beyond an experiencer experiencing experienced state of Savikalpa. It is Nirvikalpa. In Nirvikalpa, the triad of Tripuri is not there. Experiencer experiencing the experiencer. The absolute state, it is all infinite, endless Ananda. Ananda alone is there. You are Ananda. So that it cannot be robbed from you. If you are not Ananda and something else is Ananda, then gone. You are at the mercy of something else. Let it be the higher entity. So that is why Vasudha Saraswati says, even though in the transcendental state the Atma does not appear to be of the nature of supreme bliss because of being obscured by avidya, because avidya is obscuring in the transcendental state, it doesn't appear to be of the nature of happiness. But once the avidya is removed by knowledge, it shines itself as effulgent and as supreme bliss. Avidya nivruttau saprakashataya swayam eva paramananda rupena prakashate iti paramananda rupena swayam eva paramananda rupena prakashate iti. So once avidya is removed, the knowledge shines itself. That which is the consciousness, that which is the existence bliss, that shines itself as the self-effulgent supreme bliss. Shining as self-effulgent supreme bliss. It itself is bliss. It shines as the bliss. So Sat is equal to Chit is equal to Ananda. You know that you are Ananda Swarupa. You yourself are Ananda Swarupa. So therefore it does not need any means. Vyanjaka apeksha means of manifestation like the senses. Senses are means for getting happiness in the world. It is not required. Purva paksha, redas, anara objection. Even in the view that happiness is the nature of the self-fulfillment knowledge, it cannot be Atma. Brings about another objection. Because Jnana means action. In the Jnana means action. So it must have a locus. So there are two. So Jnana means action. Action must have a locus. So there are two. So then how can there be non-duality? Kya baat kar rahe hain? When you say I know, I and the knowledge, I and knowledge. So there are two. So it can't be non-dual. Then again the answer. Siddhanta Bindu 186. The answer is no. Because that which is spoken of here as knowledge has no dependency on any locus. Na anya ashrayatvat iti. It is not dependent upon anything. How? Now this will be a statement. Yat sakshat aparoshat brahma ya atma sarvantah yat sakshat aparoshat brahma ya atma sarvantah. Brahman, that is direct and immediate. It is sakshat, direct. It is aparoksha, immediate. The Atma, that is within all. The Atma which is within all is Brahman, which is direct and immediate. It doesn't need any means. It doesn't need anything to make it known. It is direct, it is immediate. Sakshat, aparoksha. That is the Atma which is in all of us. In it, we all have this Atma as our true nature, which is direct and which is love. And then Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Taittiriya Upanishad. Brahman is Satyam, reality. Brahman is Jnanam, consciousness. Brahman is Anantam, infinite. That which is reality is consciousness and it is infinite. And then Vijnanam Brahma. Vijnanam Brahma. From the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Brahman is consciousness, Brahman is bliss. So that which is reality is consciousness, that which is consciousness is bliss. इत्यादि श्रुतेः स्वप्रकाश ज्ञानानन्दरूप एव आत्मा स्वप्रकाश ज्ञानानन्दरूपः एव आत्मा. In accordance with these Shruti statements which are taken as the Pramana here, Shruti Pramana, Atma is self-effulgent, it is consciousness, it is bliss. So, it is bliss, so it doesn't need any means to make it known that it is bliss. Itself is bliss. Because of Shruti Pramana and also Anubhava Vakyas of the religious masters who experience it and say same thing. That's all. So, because of the identification of the consciousness with the mind, consciousness is attributed the vritti of the mind, which takes form of the object which is cognized. As a result of the cognition, it takes the form I know. Because of that vritti, it takes the form I know and seems to be dependent on the mind. But whereas, when we go into the root of the word Jna, the origin and destruction of knowledge pertain only to the vritti of the mind. That Jna is pertains to vritti of mind, which has got an origin and which has got a destruction also. But this knowledge is not. This is knowledge of ever-existent reality which is consciousness and which is bliss. Then it is said pure consciousness, which is the substratum of everything, is not dependent upon anything. So there is no duality. Tena Jnana Sukhatmakaha Atma Satyaha Tat Bhinnam Sarvam Jagat Asatyam Iti Siddham. So Madhusudana Saraswati says, therefore it is established that the Atma, which is consciousness and bliss, is real, and the entire universe, which is different from that which is consciousness, which is real, and which is bliss, is unreal. It is not real. So Madhusudana Saraswati's interpretation of and commentary of 9th sloka ends here. But we will now take up whatever the important points that are told by Ramaraya Kavi in Siddhanta Sindhu. But before that, we will see one objection here. If the entire universe is non-existent, and then by denying it, the truth of the Atma cannot be known, then there is no need to deny the existence of the horn of the rabbit, because it never existed. So, as a rule, it is only a thing that is known by some valid means of knowledge to exist somewhere, that may be denied somewhere else. Thus, since the denial is illogical, the universe is not non-existent, the universe is existent is the objection. That will be answered in the 10th sloka, that we will take up later on. But now we will see Siddhanta Sindhu Ramaraya Kavi. Ramaraya Kavi says, the word, see the now, similar, the word which is other than and different from witness is tuchha. Simple. The word which is other than the witness and different from the witness is tuchha. Due to all pervasiveness, witness is not tuchha. Witness is not tuchha. Witness is not limited. Witness is not uselessly limited. Because it is all pervasive, it is not limited. But that which is other than the witness and different from witness is all tuchha. It is all limited. So, aprameyatvam, saprakashatvam, nirvikaratvam are the proofs of being realness of the witness. What is that? Aprameyatvam. It cannot be known by any means. Saprakashatvam, self-luminousness, self-luminosity. Nirvikaratvam, no modification, modificationlessness, changelessness. God is the proof of being realness of witness. Witness is that. And it is said, Ramaraya Kavi says, whatever is alpam is parichinna. And whatever is parichinnam is martyam. And whatever is martyam is maranasila. Whatever is maranasila is tuchha. Limited. Alpam is equal to parichinnam, is equal to martyam, is equal to maranasila, is equal to tuchha. Tuchham is limited, that alone dies, that alone is bound by death. And that alone is limited. And that alone is alpam. So, every object which is limited, which is divided is tuchham. Every object which is tuchham is parichinnam. So, pervasiveness means not going down to limitation of time, space and objectivity. That is what Ramaraya says. Pervasiveness, if Atma is all pervading, pervasiveness means that which is not going down to limitations of time, space and objectivity. To be in all places, all times and all objects is aparichinnata. That is only for Atma, which is not different from Brahma. To be in all times, all places, in all objects. That is why it is said, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Even time and space are Atma Swarupas. Hence, Atma can never be limited. Time and space are also born from Atma only. So, in one way, if we see, they are also forms of Atma only. So, there is no question of anything getting Atma getting limited by anything. Even if somebody attributes time and space as the form of Atma, that also it cannot be. Anyway, they are all born, so that cannot be. It is beyond all limitation. That is why it is unlimited in happiness, unlimited in presence everywhere. It is reality and it is consciousness. Ramaraya, it is Vedanta Nishchaya, says, सर्वस्य मायामयत्वात् पूर्णत्वं परमात्मनि प्रतीचोवच्छिन्नता च मिथ्या स्यान्न कथं पुनः सर्वस्य मायामयत्वात् पूर्णत्वं परमात्मनि प्रतीचोवच्छिन्नता च मिथ्या स्यान्न कथं पुनः. It says whole world सर्वस्य मायामयत्वात्, whole world is of the form of maya, meaning mithya, meaning indeterminable, meaning you cannot say anything about it, meaning unreal. Hence Purnatvam Paramatmani, hence Paramatma alone is all pervading. Paramatma alone is all pervading. In this state, the Pratyekatma in our body, which we think as if it is in the body, limited by the body, confined by the body, or joined with the body, or inside, settled in the body, existing in the body, all that is Maya. Because body itself is Maya, then Upadhi itself is Maya. Then if we think that Pratyekatma is confined to body, limited by the body, inside the body, caught in the body, imprisoned in the body, that also is Maya. So he says, Brahman is all pervading and everything else is Maya. So, the Pratyekatma is indivisible. Pratyekatma cannot be divided by anything. So, to say that Pratyekatma is divisible is only Mithya, meaning the innermost self which is inside the body, which is pervading all over the body and which is illuminating the mind, intellect, memory, ego and all the contents of it. That Pratyekatma innermost self is the Brahman Paramatma, that God is. Pratyekatma alone is Parabrahma. It is not different. So, that Pratyekatma is the Sakshi of all. So, that Sakshi is of the nature of Ananda. So, that alone is Brahman. Sarvasya Mayamayatvam Before creation and after dissolution, this world does not exist. Everything, whole world is full of Maya. Before creation, the world does not exist. After dissolution, the world does not exist. Next. Jnanapurdhvam na maya chet asmadrishyam mrusha mrusha. He says, even in deep sleep, this world does not exist. Before creation, the world doesn't exist. After dissolution, the world doesn't exist. Even in deep sleep, the world doesn't exist. And even after gaining Brahma Jnana, the world doesn't exist. The world doesn't exist before creation, after dissolution, in deep sleep, after gaining Brahma Jnana. So, does it exist? He asks. Does it exist? So, this world is Maya. So, Asmat Drishyam Mrusha. The whole world of seeing. Hence, all this is Maya. The whole world of seeing is Maya. It is Asatyam. It is Mithya. Then what is Satyam? Drik alone is Satyam. That the Drik is the seer. That the seer is the witness. Witness alone is Satyam. That alone is established. Then, Ramaraya says, through Purushartha, one seeks Sukham and wants to get rid of Dukkham. Hence, due to Dharma, Artha, Kama, one gets rid of the causes of Dukkham, such as Adharma. Adharma is the cause of Dukkham, one gets rid of Adharma through Dharma. And penury or Daridrata is the cause of Dukkham. So, through Artha, gaining Artha, he gets rid of that. And it is also said here, Ramaraya says, longing for wife, Bharya Viraham, also is Dukkham because the partner is not there. That is get rid of by following, pursuing Kama. So Dharma, Artha, Kama, by pursuing them, the Adharma and Daridrata and Bharya Viraham are removed. So Dukkha Nivritti, Sukha Prapti is there through Purushartha. And in Moksha, there is Dukkha Nivritti due to Sarva Samsara Dukkha Rahitya. That is different from these other three Purusharthas. Whole world is not there anymore. So, no more dukkha is there. Dukkha can never be there. So then, Sukha Prapti due to Atmananda Spurana. The fourth Purushartha gives Sukha Prapti, not like other three Purusharthas, but it is like Atmananda Spurana. The throbbing, lively presence of Atma. That alone gives this Sukham. Atma Swarupa itself is moksha. That's what Ramaraya says. Atma is Ajam. Atma is unborn. So it is Sarvagapakam. It is all pervading. Hence it is Aparichitam. It cannot be limited. Hence it is Nityam. It is eternal. Hence it is Bhavapadartham. It is positive. So that is why it is said Atma is Hitam. More than clothes, more than body, more than Indriyas. Our Atma is most hitam to us, most dearest to us. So we are ready to even leave life partners, children, for the sake of Atma, for our protection, for our safety. If required, we are ready to forgo everybody and then we want to save ourselves, ultimately. So that is why it is said that Atma is the most sought after and Purushartha can give that Atma and that we gain that ultimate Sukham, which is Atmananda Spurana. So, Yovai Bhuma Tat Sukham, he again quotes that and says Bhuma means Adhikam, means more higher, and Brahma means Sukham. So, meaning more higher, greater Sukham is that which is all, which is consciousness. So, what is not all is small, and that small is dukkha. All is big, and that big is of greater happiness. What is not all is small. What is small is alpa, and that is dukkha. So that is why it is said, Anando Brahma. Brahman is Anandam. It is Brahman alone is Anandam. Atma is of the form of Anandam. And then he says, Sukham is of two types. Sukham, Chaitanya Rupam and Antakarna Buddha Rupam. First Sukham is Chaitanya Rupam. Second Sukham is Antakarna Buddha Rupam. And Ramaraya says, Antakarna Buddha Rupam Sukham is born. Because this Sukha, meaning the Ananda, the real Ananda is actually behind this Vritti Sukha also. The Jana Sukha, that Sukham is born through Vritti also. The Atmananda is behind the background. So Sukha, Dukkha are forms of Vritti. Hence they are having birth and death. Hence it is born. Hence it is Janyam. The Vritti Rupa Sukham is Janyam, born. But Chaitanya Rupa is not born. It is Ajaha. It is beyond. That is Moksha. That is Sakshitvam. Moksha is Nityasiddham. So, we don't know it is there. Nityasiddham is always there, but we don't know that it is there. It is already there. It is always there, but we don't know it is there. So we have to put forth prayatna or effort to know that which is already there. So once we know that which is already there, we say it is attained. So Purushartha is valid. That's what is the Ramarayana says. So Purushartha, Moksha Purushartha is valid. We need to gain Jnana, and then we will gain. So the Vedanta Vichara, Guru, Shastra, all are valid because we put forth effort to gain that. And then he says, body senses clearly make us know the happiness. They are sukha vyanjakas, means of sukha or signs of sukha or symbols of sukha or marks of sukha. Best meaning is means of sukha. So in moksha there is no body, there are no senses, and so when the body and senses are not there, so then what do they say? No, where is the sukha? So in moksha, second object only is not there. The duality alone is not there. So body, mind and senses disappear, and then the moksha ananda is available. So if body, mind and senses are not identified with it doesn't matter, because in ultimate sukha this is not required. Body, mind and senses are not required in ultimate sukha. Not required, nobody needs that. So body, mind, senses are not there. So much of importance need not be given to body, mind and senses. So Atma Ananda has no Vyanjakam in transactional state or in absolute state. Atma Ananda has no other means. It is revealed by itself. So Atma is Swataha Siddham and Hitam, and so Nityam, that which is Janyam is Anityam. So Atma is Swataha Siddham and it is Nityam, that is what we Sakshi. So Atma is Jnana Swarupam. Atma is not, see he says, if Atma is not Jnana Swarupam, it has to become Jnana Ashraya. If it is not Jnana Swarupam, it has to become Jnana. It has to depend upon Jnana like ego. Ego is not Jnana Swarupam, so it depends upon Jnana. It becomes Jnana Ashraya. And if Atma is not Sukha Swarupam, then it has to depend upon Sukha. It's like ego depends upon Sukha. Ego seeks Sukha, Sukha, I want happiness, you do, he gives, she gives, it gives, that gives. Ego goes on seeking. So which is not Sukha Swarupam is Sukha Ashraya, depends on Sukha. Which is not Jnana Swarupam is Jnana Ashraya, depends upon Jnana. If Atma is not Sukha Swarupam, it has to become Jnana Ashraya. Combined. If Atma is not Sukha Swarupam, it has to become Jnana Ashraya. It will depend on Jnana. So Sukham and Jnanam both are. Atma is Sukha Swarupam and Jnana Swarupam. So it doesn't depend upon anything for Jnana or for Sukha. So Saprakasha Jnanam is not a kriya, it is not an activity. So because it is not an activity, it is not dependent upon anything. Swayam Prakashatvam, Saprakashatvam is not an activity. If anything is an activity, it depends upon something else. Because it is not an activity, it is self-illumination. Hence Atma is Saprakasha Jnanananda Rupam. He says, Sat means there is no avyapti or ativyapti. Sat, real, all is asat. And Brahma is Chitta, means rest all is inert, Jadam. And Brahma is Ananda, means rest all is Dukha Rupam and Dukhamaya. And Sachidananda is Swarupa Lakshanam of Brahma to make us understand the Brahman. So Atma is eternally permanent, meaning Sat. Atma is of the form of knowledge, Jnana Rupam, means Chitta. Atma is Ananda Rupam, means Anandam and not Dukkha. So this way, if we understand, if we gain that knowledge, then we will be able to get settled down in witness activities. And it is said, Amsatrayam, Sattva-Chitta Ananda is also Kalpitam. Actually, all these three are one. Sat-Chit-Ananda are one. Antakaranam is said very beautiful. Antakaranam is said as three buddhis. Tamas Sattvamayam, number one. Rajas Sattvamayam, number two. Sattvamayam, number three. In these three buddhis, when Atma gets reflected, like Atma gets reflected in water, Atma gets reflected in mirror, or Atma gets reflected in gem. Meaning what? Sun gets reflected in water, sun gets reflected in mirror, sun may also get reflected in gems. Like that, these three vrittis. Tamas Sattvamayam, Rajas Sattvamayam, Sattvamayam. So in them, Tamas Sattvam is Asti, Rajas Sattvam is Bhati, meaning Chitta, meaning Jnana, Sattvamayam is Sukhakara, happiness. So, because it is reflected in three different types of vrittis, Sattva, Chitta, Ananda, but actually it is not three, but it is only one. Satrupam, Chitrupam, Ananda. So Atma's Amshatraya, Satchidananda, is Kalpana, is due to difference in Antakarana Vritti. So realized the master's experience is Satchidananda, Sadamsa touches Asti, Chidamsa touches Bhati, and Anandamsa touches Priyatva. So Sat Chit Ananda is Asti Bhati Priya. So even the momentary, for a second existing Ananda, beautifully Ramarakavi said, even that Sukhakara Vritti which exists for a moment, because of the various joys of the world, the Sukha Akara Vritti which we experience, even that also is another form of Brahma Ananda only. It is another form of Brahma Akara only. But people doesn't know that it is Brahman. Brahman alone is Sukha Rupam, because the world is Sukha Rupam. So there is no Vritti Sukham different from Vritti Gnanam, and there is no Sikha Sukham different from Gnanam. Chaitanya. Vritti Sukham and Vritti Gnanam are one and the same. But Chaitanya and Sukham are one and the same. So, existence of Satya Sukham, there is Chaitanya. And different from Vritti Gnanam, there is Brahman. That Brahman is Sukham, that Sukham is Gnanam. Then it is said Sukham is equal to Gnanam. Gnana Abhinna Sukham, Gnana Abhinna Ananda. Gnana Abhinna Sukham, that Sukham which is not different from Gnana. Jnana Abhinna Ananda, that Ananda is not different from Jnana. So that is Jnana Abhinna Sukham, Jnana Abhinna Anandam is Brahman. There is only Shabda Bhedam, no Artha Bhedam. There is only difference in the form of Shabda, Satya Chitva Ananda. But in Artha, all are one. So that which is one is you and I, and that is the witness. So here, Ramaraya is commentary on 9th sloka also comes to conclusion. So tomorrow we will see the 10th sloka and then finally arrive at the conclusion. Om Vagishwaraya Vidmahe Om Vagishwaraya Vidmahe Hayagrivaya Dhimahi Hayagrivaya Dhimahi Tanno Hayagriva Prachodayat Tanno Hayagriva Prachodayat Om Akshareshwaraya Vidmahe Hayagriva Mangalam. Hayagriva Mangalam. Om सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः श्री परम